Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuhu. Just wait for people to come on, inshallah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Can you ask Uthman to wash your hands, please? Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت الحكيم العليم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا ما علمتنا وزدنا علما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي بسم الله. I apologize for coming on a little late. And this is post Maghrib time is difficult. So I try to just get done with whatever I have to get done right away and then come right away. So I apologize. I'm hoping everyone's able to hear me okay. And we can begin, inshallah. Yes, okay, bismillah. So last week we left off, we only did one hikmah from we did one or we did two? Yeah, we did um, does anyone remember if we did only one or two last week? I revised this chapter and the next chapter in Invocation for today, but I didn't put my bookmark from where we're supposed to start. So if you can go ahead and remind me, that'd be excellent. I'm going to look in the book right now to see where we left off. Yeah, we did only one hikmah from last time. Okay, bismillah. So قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى نفعنا به وبكم لا تطلب منه أن يخرجك من حالة ليستعملك فيما سواها. So do not request him, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get you out of a state to make use of you in a different one. فلو أراد لاستعملك من غير إخراج. For were he to desire so, he could make use of you as you are without taking you out. So over here, the Musannif rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions this beautiful hikmah. لا تطلب منه. Let not one of you seek from him, meaning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't seek, don't ask Allah ta'ala أن يخرجك من حالة, to take you out from a condition or a situation that you are in. ليستعملك فيما سواها, to utilize you in a فيما سواها, for one other than it. فلو أراد أي فلو أراد الله, if Allah willed, if He so willed, لاستعملك من غير إخراج, He can actually use you in that situation without taking you out of your current situation. Now, what is beautiful over here is that the Musannif rahmatullahi alayhi, what he mentions is a situation in this hikmah that is very much relevant to our lives, and I covered this for a bit last week as well. And that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sorry guys, all Jahannam is breaking loose over here. Okay. Now, what do we see? We see in our lives that there are so many situations that arise. We see the situation that we have work, for example, and we're involved in work. We're engaged in work. We go to the masjid, we hear a khutbah, and now we get excited about seeking knowledge. Or, we see someone who's traveling to spread the deen of Allah Ta'ala and do his dawah. and all of a sudden we want to go in that situation, or we see someone who is I don't know, who's whatever the situation is that we're seeing someone, and based upon what we find in their lives, we become very much enamored by it, and we desire to be in this situation. So what the Musannif, what Ibn Ata'illah al-Iskandari rahmatullah alayhi is mentioning is that don't don't wish, don't seek, don't make dua that Allah takes you out of your certain your specific state. So now the person who's working begins to make dua, oh Allah, let me leave my work. Let me be able to have the free time so I can go and sit in the zawiya for, 3 months at hand, 2 months at hand, and just begin to spiritually rectify myself. Why? Because he read Al-Munqid min al-Dalal, Imam al-Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi's autobiography, and now he's so inspired and motivated to change himself. So don't make that dua. Why shouldn't you make that dua? Because in your specific situation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted you goodness in that situation. And Allah Ta'ala's decree is that you progress towards Him in that particular situation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if what you're doing is not haram, that's what's best for you. And there's many hadith like this, for example, kasbul halal fariyatun ba'd al fara'id. To earn a halal living is a mandatory act after the main shari'i mandatory acts, the five pillars in particular. So why would a person want to leave? Because they see the grass is greener on the other side. And so when a person always sees the grass is greener on the other side, what they're indirectly doing is they are not recognizing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the position that He put them in that particular case, was best for them. Allah. This might sound blasphemous. I'm not trying to make this a blasphemous statement. But now this person engages in this decision, and then what happens all of a sudden? That person begins to have regret and remorse. Person begins to have worry. SubhanAllah, what am I going to do? I have family to feed, and A, B, C, D, all these worries come up. And now that person before was preoccupied with work, but was still fulfilling the fara'id and the basics and going to the masjid when he or she was able to go and take care of the family. Now the person is not able to fulfill the family's rights. And then on top of that, is not able to earn properly. So they have to take a second job, or they begin to, because shaitan, he utilizes a person's steps against them. So for example, the person now begins to, and I'm not saying don't have trust in Allah. Of course you should have trust in Allah. When you make such a big decision, understand that there are ramifications with that decision, number one. And two, shaitan will attack you with that decision. I remember when I was traveling overseas to study, and it was my wife and my two older children, who at that point were, this was what, 2013. So they were, one was 7 years old and one was 4 years old. I remember the moment landing, looking outside and seeing Africa, Zambia for the first time. I was thinking, where did we come? What did I do to my family? And shaitan, he attacks you from that direction. Now, some people will have to make those sacrifices. Some people will have to do those things. But to desire and request from Allah, change my state, not be grateful for your current state, what happens now is a person begins to neglect the actual gift that Allah Ta'ala put for them in that particular hal, that particular state. And then he says, فَلَوْ أَرَادَ لَاسْتَعْمَلَكَ مِنْ غَيْرِ إِخْرَاجٍ. If he so wills, he can utilize you without changing your state. Meaning what? If he wants you to study deen and be someone who's going to propagate deen, he can have you keep your job and study, and then study part-time for a long period of time until, for example, you're able to benefit people through your ilm, and your job never had to be compromised. As a result, your family did not have to be put in a difficult situation. Or if he wanted you to give da'wah, he can make you continue to give da'wah without having to compromise your situation such that your family is put through difficulty, or you yourself are put through difficulty. If he wants you, whatever the case may be. And so this is in particular not about dawah or ilm. This is in particular about spiritual progress, because a lot of people begin to say, well, if only I could have more time doing dhikr. Now, a person's just sitting down to do dhikr, etc., and now they're sitting to do dhikr, but now they're thinking, how am I going to afford food? How am I going to afford this, etc., etc., etc. The reality is that we should not ask Allah Ta'ala to take us out of a state to a different one. We don't know all the situations that come with the state. And anyone who studied, you know the difficulties that come with studying. You know the difficulties that come by traveling to study. There are severe tests that come with it. A person is trading a test for a different test. Thus, he says that if Allah wishes, He can grant another state without us having to give up our current state. We should not have such poor opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His power and His capability. The one who put us in one state can allow us to maximize our benefit in that particular state. And this is the way of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu as well. Umar radiallahu anhu, he continued working while gaining the ilm benefit and the presence of the Prophet ﷺ and the spiritual gain from the Prophet, etc. All of those things he did. Why? Because he would tell his partner, you earn one day and I'll earn one day, and then we'll go sort of back and forth in our earning. So what happens is that an individual is able to maximize by maintaining their state. And for the vast majority of people who have weakness of iman and weakness of tawakkul, what that end up happening is that they will question their decision and then their deen will be compromised. What's better for them is that they decide that what I'm going to maintain my state, I'm going to maintain my submission, etc., to Allah in the moments that He gave me, and then along with that, what will happen is I will try to do whatever I can to pursue whatever else I want to pursue, which could be knowledge, spiritual gain, etc. The next one, سوابق الهمم لا تخرق أسوار الأقدار. The way he translates it is antecedent intentions cannot pierce the walls of predestined decrees. Let's simplify this as well. سوابق الهمم لا تخرق أسوار الأقدار. Um, that like these foretold efforts or intentions a person have, the intentions or the desire, the want a person has, that cannot لا تخرق أسوار الأقدار. It can't tear apart or go through what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already made for us. Now there's a term you have to understand for this. It's called the himam. Himma, according to the ulama and the muhaqqiqeen, is going to be this deep intention that a person has. Imam Suyuti rahmatullahi alayh, he has this like 5 stages of thought that a person goes through. It starts with hajis, and it goes to then becomes a khatir, and then it goes to what's after khatir, hajis khatir, and then it comes there's something else, and it becomes what, himma, and then it becomes what, azm. So himma is going to be a person's decision. It's right before resolute, like being like absolutely resolute in your decision, but it is a decision that a person makes. Now, if a person has this, this is going to be so strong, and a person is exercising that himma. What a person should be careful what is to understand that no matter what they do, even if it's du'a, in the end, well, actually, dua according to hadith does do this, but then the person says, "What about?" It's a whole lengthy discussion. Um, if a person has this within themselves, they should recognize that in the end, it cannot alter what Allah's decree is. Allah's decree in the end is Allah's decree. Allah's decree in the end is what? Allah's decree. And as a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree will always be superior. So the person should recognize is no matter how strong and convinced they are of their intention and their decision, it is not going to change Allah's decree in the end. Therefore, a person should always recognize that whatever happens in the end is from Allah. A person decides to go and donate, and they take out their, they go online, and then they try to put their card information. They put their card information in, and what happens? It doesn't go through. So they try again, it doesn't go through. And they look in their account, there's money in the account, etc. They have to now recognize that, look, Allah has willed one thing and they have willed another, and Allah's will be dominant. But the intention and the effort that they're making, that is what's going to count in the end. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want that money to go from this account to this account, but you'll be going somewhere else and someone more needy will need it. And then you'll be able to transfer to that person. So you got the reward of this account, and this person benefited. And Allah will have someone else benefit this person over here. Or you have every intention to go to this class, and you come home from work, and now you prepare the family and everyone's getting ready to go, and you go out and the car's not starting. And you can't understand why. brand new alternator, brand new battery, brand new car for that matter. But for some reason, it's just not starting. So, you begin to, get upset, etc. There's no need. You made all of the effort. The reward is there from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot change Allah's decree. Perhaps Allah's decree was to have you stay home to avoid a car accident or avoid some difficulty that would have been harmful to us physically, spiritually, emotionally, religiously, whatever the case may be. And so a person has to recognize Allah in everything. They have to see Allah's hand in everything. That His decision, His decree, our intention, لا تخرقوا أسوار الأقدار, that we cannot change the what He mentions, the walls of predestined decree. Allah, and this is, they mentioned about Mufti Gangohi rahmatullahi alayh, that he would write fatwa with one eye upon the paper and one eye towards the heavens. Meaning what? I mean, it's hyperbole. Meaning that as he's writing, his heart was very engaged in wondering, will Allah be content with this? Is this fatwa giving unnecessary leniency, or is this giving unnecessary decision, etc.? And so Imam Mufti Gangohi, rahmatullah, who's the translator, or the one who wrote Ikmal al-Shiyam, which we're reading right now, that this is how he behaved. And so that's how we should be as well. We should make the himma, spiritual effort, spiritual focus, try to have that effectuate a change. But in the end, it's Allah's decree. There's a person can do whatever they want to do. They can put their tawajjuh, whatever they want. It's not going to change that which Allah did not will to change. If that was the case, that a person's spiritual attention, himma, could change something, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have been able to convert whom? Abu Talib. But Allah says, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Verily, you cannot guide whom you will. Only Allah guides. Allah guides whom He wills. The next one. أَرِحْ نَفْسَكَ مِنَ التَّدْبِيرِ. Rest yourself from self-direction. فَمَا قَامَ بِهِ غَيْرُكَ عَنْكَ لا تقم به لنفسك. For what someone else has carried out on your behalf, do not you yourself undertake to do it. So أرح نفسك من التدبير. أرح. Rasulullah SAW once told Bilal radiallahu anhu, أرحنا يا Bilal, to cause our hearts through his adhan, meaning by calling adhan, to cause our hearts to enter into a state of coolness and relaxation and happiness and comfort, through the adhan, by the call of prayer, because the prayer, qurrata aini, that the coolness of the Prophet's eyes is what? As-salah, prayer. So arih nafsaka min at-tadbir, that you should cause yourself to be in a situation where you relax, where you find ease and comfort. Why? Um, because, how do we put this? You're a child and you are now traveling on a journey. You're traveling to the airport, for example, for a trip. And your parents have already taken care of everything for the trip. They've taken care of the tickets, and they've packed the bags, and all those things have been done. Now you're comfortable not recognizing what? That your parents have already done this. So when you're comfortable recognizing that your parents have done this, what do? You sort of relax. You relax knowing that what? My parents have taken care of my situation in such a way better than I could have. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to handle any of this. I don't have to do any of this. And so you're sort of content with what your parents have done. So you're relaxed. You know they have the passports, and you know they have the tickets, and you know they have everything. This is arih nafsaka min at-tadbir. That which has been arranged for you or has been managed for you, those things, be content with it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Why? Because when it comes to us as human beings, there is very little that we need in this world to actually sustain ourselves. And so as a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to engage in this world in such a way that we're only dabbling to what will allow us to sustain and continue ourselves. Now, in all reality, unfortunately, we don't maintain that. We do a lot more than that. And nowadays, the ulama, they say, don't worry about qillat al-ta'am, just worry about halal. They say, don't worry about eating small amounts of food, just worry about eating halal nowadays, because the standard has sort of dropped. This is the standard of the time of Ibn Ata'illah al-Iskandari rahmatullahi alayh. So anyway, coming back to what I was saying. So now we have things that taken care of for us. So we should only engage ourselves to such a way that we engage in the dunya so that we can sustain ourselves, and we should devote the rest of ourselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is evident in the hadith of the Prophet, and I believe it's in Sahih Bukhari, where Aisha radiallahu anha was seen sort of looking for food in the house, and the Prophet said that, eat once and then content yourself in the worship of Allah. So just eat once, meaning that don't go and sort of bother yourself with eating over and over. I mean, if we can have a counter on the fridge door for how many times we open the fridge and close it. And it's so funny. We open the fridge, we look inside, nothing that we want. We come back 5 minutes later, we open that same fridge, look in the same shelf, knowing that no one's left the house to get groceries, to see if something else is there. Then we come back 5 minutes later and do the same thing, as if magically some sort of substance or food will appear. It's not going to happen, but that's how we sort of are, because we're so worried and so engaged in making sure that our bodies are fulfilled. But rather, what we should do is that's which has been taken care of. One meal is provided, it was sufficient for us, etc. For example, until the next meal. Then the rest of our time now we should engage in what? In working for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even now in this quarantine, what should we do? Rather than a person going and visiting the kitchen over and over and over, what's the purpose? How much can a person eat? Forget the freshman 15 that people gain the first year of college. I wonder how much weight people are going to gain when we leave this whole quarantine. People they shouldn't be gaining and gaining weight, because they're always coming back to that central point in the house, which is what? The kitchen. This is why psychologists, sociologists, what do they say? If you have a child with a computer, like a teenager with a computer, the best place to keep the computer in the house is what? The kitchen. Because people are always coming in and out of the kitchen, so they can't hide. That child cannot hide what they're doing. And that child will naturally have to sort of be a straight shooter when it comes to use of computer. Don't ever put a computer in their room. That's dangerous. Yes, Anas. I know I can't open it. It's paint, and you're gonna spill everywhere. It's what's what? It's a stapler. Stapler? Stapler. It's plain. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. I don't know what class here. Okay. So now, so someone in the house has taken care of food for the day. There's no need to come and say, "Well, I don't like that meal. I want to do something that I like better." Why worry yourself with that? Someone in the house has provided whatever for the day, the clothing for the day. No need to go back in the closet and say, "I don't like this. I'm gonna go and spend 10 more minutes and try to look through what I have to find." No, something's been taken care of. Just content yourself with it. This is why some of the ulama and mashayikh, they dress very simply. They just keep one garment in the closet, maybe a few versions of it, and they just put it on every day. Why? Because, like, why worry myself? One thing's been taken care of. It's done. I'm just going to move on and continue to just spend my time in the submission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When something is done, let it be, and focus your time on something else. But brother, I don't like the way it tastes. Just say Bismillah and eat it. Worst comes to worst, if you don't like the way it tastes, if you're not allergic, and don't kill yourself, if you're allergic to obviously something else. If you don't like the way it tastes, then eat less of it and thank Allah. At least then we'll be eating only for the sake of Allah, or only to make our spouse happy, even though we don't like it for that particular moment. And we'll eat less, which is better for the nafs anyway. But that which is taken care of, don't try to reinvent and redo it again. This happens a lot with parents. Parents, they tell the child to go clean the kitchen. So the child cleans the kitchen. They do a decent job. And they come and they're all grumbling under their breath, and well, they didn't do this properly. And then they go and have to readjust everything the way they want to do it. Well, if that was the case, then you should just let the person just not do it. You should do it in the first place. But now that they're taking care of it, and it's a decent job. Let it be, and go and engage ourselves in something else at that particular moment. The next one, اجتهادك فيما ضمن لك وتقصيرك فيما طلب منك دليل على انطماس البصيرة منك. اجتهادك فيما ضمن لك. You're striving for what has already been guaranteed to you. وتقصيرك فيما طلب منك. And your remissness in what is demanded of you. دليل على انطماس البصيرة منك. Are signs of the blurring of your intellect. So let's just go through this a little more. Ijtihaduka. Ijtihad is making an effort. Well, you call someone a mujtahid or ijtihad. It comes from the idea of juhud. Ijtihad is to make an effort. The reason why mujtahid is called a mujtahid is when they're making a decision about a religious ruling, etc. They're doing ijtihad. They're making an effort. They're exerting themselves to reach or come to a conclusion. So ijtihaduka fima dumina lak. Damana is a guarantee. So that which has dumina laka has already been guaranteed. Dumina is in for it's the majhul form, so it's been done upon you. Dumina laka, it's already been done for you. The guarantee has been done for you. So ijtihaduka fima dumina lak. That which has already been what guaranteed for you. What's been guaranteed for us? Our provision's been guaranteed for us. Our provision has been guaranteed for us. It has been one prescribed for us before we were born. Two, if we want to change provision, which sort of can happen according to hadith, it doesn't happen through sin. It happens through excess dua and actually leaving sin. That's the way a person can change what has been written for them. So if we're making effort for that which has been already established for us, now this doesn't mean, because Umar radiallahu anhu, he would sometimes come into the masjid. On one occasion, he came to the masjid and he found some young men who were sitting sort of head bowed and they were just sort of engaging in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Umar radiallahu anhu, this was not a time of prayer. He asked them, "What are you doing here?" They said, "Oh, we are the people of trust." So Umar radiallahu anh took his durra, his staff, and he began to hit them. And it was explained that this is not trust. Trust isn't that we just sit one place and we wait for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to descend upon the individual food and drink, etc. That's not trust. Trust is you tie the camel, and then you have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the hadith in Tirmidhi mentions, that you tie your camel, you do whatever you can to make sure that the process will be complete and correct. And after that, you have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is going to be necessary. A person should make the effort. A person can't walk around and walk around in the middle of the winter without a coat on and without a hat on and just wearing flip flops and a lungi and just wondering, why am I getting sick? I trust in Allah. No, the person has to. Now, people cite the example of Sahaba. Look, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. We have Sa'ad radiallahu anhu who walked on water. We have Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu who drank poison. We have Safina radiallahu anhu who rode on top of a lion. We have these examples. Yes, we do. And they come from chains that are sound and authentic. And though they might baffle the human mind, we're not baffled by it. We have complete belief in it. So, why in this case are we different? Because our level of trust is different in Allah. If we had the trust, as the hadith mentions, that birds do when they leave their nests every morning and then they return with their stomachs filled at night, that we would have also been the same type of recipients. But that's not how we are with Allah. We don't have that same level of trust in our interaction with the world. But look, in the end, the hadith does not mention you have the trust of the bird who sits in his or her nest in the morning, and in the evening, while sitting in the nest, that person's stomach, that bird's stomach is filled. No, the bird left the nest. The sabab was done. They left the nest and then they came back, what? Being filled. The bird had to leave the nest. So we still have to leave the house, we still have to go work, etc. And Allah Ta'ala will take care of it for us. But ijtihaduka fima dumina lak. But now overly exerting yourself, Allah is ar-razaq. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That verily Allah Ta'ala has mentioned that I have not created jinn or mankind except for the purpose of worshiping Allah. ما يريد ما أريد منكم من رزق ما أريد منهم من رزق ما أريد أن يطعمون. That I do not want or I do not desire that they feed me or that they give me provision. إن الله هو الرزاق. Rather, Allah Ta'ala is the true provider. So we do the things in this world. We become physicians not to earn money, but to serve humanity. We become teachers not to earn money. And no one becomes a teacher to earn money, but we don't become teachers to earn money. Why? We do it to serve humanity. If the teacher was ordained to earn more than the physician, the teacher will earn more than the physician. We become truck drivers. Why? Not to earn money, but to see the world. No, we do it to serve Allah. That His creation has a need. That this item is taken from this point to this point, and I will do that for the world. That's why we do it. Everyone does what they have to do, understanding that this is from Allah. There are poor physicians out there, and there are wealthy physicians out there. There are poor businessmen out there. There are wealthy businessmen out there. There are poor lawyers out there. There are wealthy lawyers out there, etc., etc., etc. Remember one of my friends when he was living on campus at UIC, his roommate was a taxi cab driver, and he had just purchased. This was in like 2003, 2002, something like that. He had just purchased a brand new Land Cruiser at that point, and he's like, "How much does this guy make?" No one would ever assume the taxi. There's nothing wrong with being a taxi cab driver, but there's a certain assumption about it. But there's nothing that person earned. Allah put barakah in their wealth, so they were able to make that purchase if that was what was best for them. So the thing is that we to strive for that which Allah. If Allah said we're going to earn $100 in a day, we're not going to earn more than that. If we sin, that $100 will come to us, but the barakah will be taken away. We won't be able to stretch our dollar. If we don't sin and we submit, then the dollar will be stretched much more, such that we'll be able to gain much more from that $100 than we would have ever found imaginable. And that's just the nature of Allah Ta'ala's provision for us. Then he mentions what تقصيرك فيما طلب منك and then in your تقصير فيما طلب منك, your, it says remissness here, your shortening, um you're reducing your effort. You're not putting as much focus and attention. You're sort of cutting your responsibility short for that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala طُلِبَ minka is expecting from you and is sought from you, or in this case they mentioned demanded from you. What is this and what we refer to? This refers to worship and obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we were created. This is such a beautiful set of verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He establishes, that He speaks about this whole principle right here. I did not create you except to worship. I'm not seeking your wealth. I'm not seeking your provision or anything. I'm the provider. So in this particular case, that which is expected from us, that we're going to be held account for, that which is not guaranteed for us, our worship, our submission, we have to do what? We have to now put more effort into that. It's very, very simple. Just take the litmus test based on your own life. Don't do it based on my life. Don't do it based upon your spouse's life. Don't do it based on anyone else's. Do it based upon your life. There was a book or a series of books that came out years ago called Harry Potter. People would do revision of Harry Potter that would make the Ramadan Hafiz jealous, or Hafiza jealous. Because a new Harry Potter book would come out, Harry Potter Part 4. So then they would sit and the week it's coming out, they would reread 1 and 2 and 3 so they can refresh what happened in anticipation of 4. And each book is like 600 to 800 pages long. So now they've done all of this revision with the intention and hope and anticipation for the book, the Harry Potter, to come out. Now that person who's able to devour, and then they spend the next day and a half reading the next 600 or 800 pages of the new book, they're able to put in their systems 2 to 4,000 pages, or 2 to 3,000 worth of pages of reading, and they come to Allah and they say, "Oh Allah, I couldn't read Quran. Reading is hard. I don't find the time." Allah will show them that what? This was your action with Harry Potter, and then this was your action with what? My book, my Quran. Or Allah will show them that this is your action with all night watching all 3 or 6 or 9 or 12, whatever episodes or series Star Wars end up being. You stayed up all night watching it. You couldn't spend 5 minutes in tahajjud for me. So it's just comparing against ourselves. You were able to work overtime to earn a little more money to purchase yourself A, B, and C. You didn't once earn overtime to do the good to serve one of my orphans across the world or in your own backyard. You don't have to go across the world. Go anywhere here. You don't have to go to people say the north side. North side has people of some wealth and some people that don't. Even our south side, there are people here that are struggling. So you find these types of needs everywhere, and Allah will compare us to ourselves. So the Musannif rahmatullah alayhi is mentioning that our making excess effort for that which is guaranteed provision, and our making a lack of effort for that which is not guaranteed, our submission to Allah, dalil. This is a proof. What is a proof of? This is a proof, or it's a sign, ala intimasil basira minka, about the way that you have lost focus and things have been made into a lost focus in your sight. And this is what happens. People have lost focus in their sight of Allah. Why were we created? And this is one of the beautiful things about this. We have to sort of accept Allah's decree. You have to be home. But it also helps us sort of figure out, okay, this is my focus in life. I need to submit. I need to turn to Allah. I need to do A, B, and C. And that is definitely required upon us. Okay. Again, don't stop earning. You need to earn, but you don't have to spend day and night earning. At least for the most, some people do because they just make so little, or they're supporting so many people. There's a person I know. He owns a mansion, mashallah. Owns a huge mansion. It's the biggest, and he lives in an area of mansions. And on the few blocks around him, he has the biggest home. He's a physician. And this individual is one of the few people I've ever seen who actually has a house like that for a purpose, because he houses his parents there, and he houses his sister and her child there, or children there, and houses himself and his children, his wife there, and then his wife's siblings from overseas and their families there as well, just because, just to take the burden off of them. And he does work a lot, and he works 2 jobs, and he earns a lot, and then he runs a masjid, and he finances a masjid, and he uh, you know uh, helps different organizations, and he's less he'll borrow money from him, etc. And that's what he does. So there are people who do ijtihad, but the ijtihad here is for what? Fima tuliba mink, in what's been expected from him by Allah, meaning that he's using this gift, and just tying it back from the previous two the three, لا تطلب منه أن يخرجك من حالة ليستعملك فيما سواها. And this, he's a great example of this, because he studied as well, and he became Hafiz of Quran as well, and his family has scholarship within there as well, etc. And so he sort of didn't, he just took whatever cards Allah dealt him, and he's maximizing his situation there. Anyway, let's move on. ما ترك من الجهل شيئا من أراد أن يحدث في الوقت غير ما أظهره الله فيه. This is sort of like the summary of everything we've been talking about. ما ترك من الجهل شيئا من أراد أن يحدث في الوقت غير ما أظهر الله فيه. He who wishes that at a given moment there appear other than what God has manifested in it has not left ignorance behind at all. Now, what's beautiful in the Arabic is that, how does this end? He who wishes that at a given moment there appear other than what God has manifested in it has not left ignorance behind at all. But in Arabic, that says, Ma taraka min al jahli shay'an. It actually flips it the other way. It begins with that last point. Ma taraka min al jahli shay'an. That he has not left even the smallest bit of of ignorance, not arrogance, ignorance at all. ما ترك من جهل شيئا. He has not left the smallest, even most minuscule part of ignorance. So the person listens to it, they think, who's that? Who's that type of person who has not even left the smallest type of ignorance? So now a person becomes sort of focused. Okay, who is that type of person? من أراد أن يحدث في الوقت. That a person who wants or desires that something occur at one time, غير ما أظهر الله فيه. Other than what Allah has made appear or manifest in front of that person. And this is such a beautiful hikmah because of the fact that, yeah, this is the one, yeah. I was making sure because there's a few more in this chapter. I'm hoping to finish this chapter today, maybe not. You know, this whole chapter is on accepting divine decree and abandoning choice. Abandoning choice doesn't mean a person doesn't choose anymore. Abandoning choice refers to that they align what they want to what Allah pleases Allah and pleases Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then that which will allow them to grow closest to Allah. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to choose anything. No, still choose. You have that opportunity, but you accept divine decree. We recognize, okay, this all happened. You know, I was listening to one of my, he's a friend of mine from the West Coast. He's a scholar. There's a conference today and tomorrow online from a Noor Institute. And, you know, I'm just going to be open. Like, when for me, a lot of these things that happen in the world, you know, 9/11 and then this coronavirus and, you know, the shooting in California, all these things, they don't always make sense. And I'm not saying conspiracy theory. I'm not saying not conspiracy theory. I'm just saying things are not always as they appear in this dunya. That's been the case since the time of Prophet before. So they don't always make sense. But the way this individual was addressing this question that was brought up, and I didn't bring up the question, but I definitely benefited by his response. He was saying that, okay, so let's just say that it is completely 100% a virus that was sort of transmitted from, as one of the assumptions and theories is from the consumption of one animal into the human beings and it spread. Okay, now that you know about this, what are you going to do? You still have to do good deeds and please Allah at this time. And you still have to do tawbah. And you still have to repent and try to improve yourself. And what if this is some, you know, 5G and you know, lab created virus? What are you going to do? You still have to submit to Allah, and you still have to do good deeds, and you still have to progress towards Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. No matter where you are on the spectrum, our responsibility is still the same. Our responsibility is to still say, "Oh Allah, you come first, and I still have to submit to you." So sometimes it's not as important as for a person to get all the out, because people spend all this time on mainstream media and then non-mainstream media, and they're trying to find, and they're spending hours on end about this. And when they're spending hours on end, what's happening? They're not spending minutes on end in the worship of Allah. And this stuff has a powerful impact on a person. I'll give you a personal example from my life. When I was imam at the masjid here, this was 2 years ago, I believe, or three or 4 years ago. There was like a 2 week stretch where I could not get to the masjid for Fajr. And I mean, I was waking up, I was praying at home, but I couldn't get up for Fajr and get to the masjid. And I couldn't figure out what, like, something was like preventing it. And so I began to, our teachers would advise us to reflect. You know, are you sinning? Is there a new sin in your life, or an old sin that's, you know, sort of coming up? So I was just thinking, I was reflecting. I'm like, no, that's not the case. Okay, and so the way they would always put is identify the sin. If there's not a sin, then identify a spiritual like ailment. If that's not the case, then identify just the any type of new obsession or involvement in something that's mundane, غير Allah, other than Allah, because that also has an effect upon the heart. And so I was thinking, sin, I commit sin, but I can't think of any new one that's now plagued me, or like the recurrence of an older one at such greater levels. Okay, some spiritual element. Am I acting proud in front of people? Am I doing this? Okay, I couldn't find anything, couldn't perceive something new. Then I think, okay, something of the mundane. And I realized, yes, because that was right around the election time. So then I began to notice that I was going online and I was looking at all these things about the election and the president, and he lost the popular vote, but won electoral vote, and then what this means for the country, etc. And I was very much engaged in that. And it wasn't that I wasn't spending like up till 2, 3 o'clock reading, but I was consuming a few articles a day, and that was putting a darkness on my heart. And as soon as I recognized that, I cut out not watching, I wouldn't watch the news, but reading online. And then the next day, I was able to get to the masjid. I did Toba, and the next day, I got to the masjid for Fajr. These things have a big bearing. They have a huge bearing. So why am I mentioning this? Is that because the heart, it is affected by the way we interact with the world. So ما ترك من الجهل شيئا من أراد أن يحدث في الوقت غير ما أظهره الله فيه, that a person has not left even the smallest bit of of ignorance, excuse me, that one who wishes for something else to happen at a particular moment, other than what Allah has manifested at that, Allah has uh, caused to be the situation. So now we look at what Allah put in front of us to be the best situation, and then we look to see, um, is this situation in line with Allah wants? Yes, I continue. If not, no. It's in line with Allah wants. It's against what I want. I still continue because it's in line with what Allah wants. And then that person um, um, transforms what the nafs wants to what Allah finds best. That's why Rasulullah mentioned that a person will never reach the pinnacle of faith until that person loves what Allah and His Messenger loves and hates what Allah and His Messenger hates. That becomes the pinnacle and the highest point of a person's iman and faith. And this is what we aim for. And so it's just such a beautiful. Sorry, I did something accidentally. I hope it didn't affect you guys. There we go. And this is what we aim for, and we're content, because if we're not content, I mean, this is one of the beautiful things about the beautiful but dangerous things about jealousy. Why do I say beautiful? I say beautiful because when a person sort of learns this, then they learn to sort of identify that jealousy is a horrible thing. Sorry. A person gets jealous. Why is jealousy so problematic? Jealousy is so problematic because what a person in essence is saying that, what's jealousy? So, you know, my wife here has a pretty nice library. I like to go into her library and sit here and pretend like it's mine. There's a couple more shelves here, etc. So I like to sit with my wife's books and go through some of her books that I'm able to go through and understand. Now, I could sit here and say, why is it that my wife has all these books and they're so nice and she can read and understand it and interpret it so well, and I can't? And I can just sit there, and instead of making an effort to try to learn more to read and understand and access these books, I can just get very upset and get very jealous. Now, if I get jealous, what am I saying in essence? I'm saying it's not fair that she owns these nice books, mashallah, and that she understands these books, mashallah, and she can read through them and teach them at such a high level and capacity, mashallah. It's not fair. Now, if I say that, that's fine. But when I'm saying that's not fair, what does that mean? That I'm questioning the one who gave her that ability and gave her, the intelligence that collected these texts, etc. And who is that? That's Allah. So I'm saying, oh Allah, it's not fair that you made this decision. I feel it would have been better if I received this. Astaghfirullah. That's such a foolish thing for a person to think. That's why jealousy is so dangerous. You know, al-hasadu ya'kulu al-hasanat kama ta'kulu al-nar al-hataba. That jealousy eats through a person's good deeds, just like what? Fire devours kindle, firewood. Why? Because now a person gets jealous, and then the jealousy, as it manifests itself, it's really what? That person questioning Allah's decision. And that is absolutely dangerous. That's absolutely dangerous. Okay, let's move on. So ما توفق مطلب أنت طالبه بربك ولا تيسر مطلب أنت طالبه بنفسك. That he mentions no search pursued with the help of your Lord remains at a standstill, but any search pursued by yourself will not be fruitful. See this? Okay, let's try to get to this. ما توفق مطلب أنت طالبه بربك. That no, actually, no. Let's stop over here. Even though the explanation is small, there's a lot to say about this. So I'll cover this tomorrow, inshallah. Because we only have 5 minutes. I don't think I'll finish that in 5 minutes. Okay, so we'll end over here. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's better to make dua for. Is it better to make dua for specific things or good in general? It's always better to make dua generally good. But it is permissible to make dua for specific things. So, for example, let's say you're making the dua, oh Allah, grant me this job. You can make that dua. That's permissible. But you should accept the decree that if Allah is not good for you, that something better might be there. So it's permissible to make dua for something specific. But it's also, in some ways, better to say, oh Allah, you know my affairs best. I need a job that's halal, that takes care of me and my family. You know my weakness, for example, of not praying in the masjid, or my weakness in interacting with the opposite gender. So provide that which is best. And then be content with that which Allah puts forth. And you can mix the du'as up. You know, if someone's making dua, oh Allah, oh Allah, let me marry so and so. That's your dua, for example. I know you're married, but let's say, oh dua, let me marry so and so. That's fine. But then you should, at least if it's best for me. Because then, like, at least at the same time, you're putting the ball in the court of Allah. I hate putting that type of phrasing, but at least you're recognizing Allah if it's best for me. And there are those people. Oh, I'm people like this. I'm one of those, right? Allah, let me marry so and so if it's best for me. Let me get such and such a job if it's best for me. If it's not best for me, make it best for me. No, that's not good. Because now we're dictating what Allah what to do. That's not good. So general du'as are good, but to ask for specific things is absolutely okay. It's absolutely permissible. And it's okay to make dua for worldly things. It's not looked down Islamically. Because for a believer, worldly things are a gateway to the hereafter. Why does a believer want a job? So they can give sadaqah. They want the optimal job so they can give more sadaqah, take care of their family better, have the hours where they're able to go to the masjid with ease, and do all these things. So it's absolutely okay. Allah, I want this job. Because it's not dunyawi in the end, it's ukhrawi. Look, there's a difference between dunya and alam. Dunya means that which is in the world and distracts from Allah. Alam is that which is in the world and cause a person to recognize Allah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the worlds. So Quran is alam. These books could be dunya because if I'm doing it just to sit here and show off to people, that look at my wife's collection, that's dunya. It's distracting me. But if it's actually someone wants to get more and more and more and more, so they can read more and learn more, that's alam. It's drawing them closer to Allah. For one person, a car will be dunya. For another person, that same car will be alam. Why? Because that person will utilize that car to grow closer to Allah Ta'ala, and they want that car for that. Now, someone might say, well, brother, how do you justify, I don't even know, an S series or a C series, whatever this, different brands are of these valuable cars? Maybe that person has a justification. Maybe every time they sit down in the car, it reminds them that if this is the goodness Allah can give me in this world, Allah will can give me more in Jannah, and that's that person's constant reminder. I can't question it. So if that's really what they're sincerely doing, alhamdulillah. Some of our scholars are very, very wealthy, and they had fineries and good things, but that was a means for the hereafter. And that's fine if they were able to do that. So yes, go ahead and ask for worldly things, because in essence, the believer asks for worldly things for the hereafter. I met a person recently who was, he's an imam at a masjid not too far away, and he's trying to get a six pack. But he's trying to do it because he wants to, maintain good health and be an example for the community, and show his wife that just because we've been married a long time ago, I'm not like gaining weight, etc., etc. If that's what his thing is, then that's fine. It seems dunyali on the surface, but he's been able to make it into an ukhrawi reality. Anas, no, no, thank you. Anas, sorry, he's turning off the heat in the house. Okay, I'll let you guys go. It's 9 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, Anas. Abaway.